Madam Chair. Thank you. We appreciate you, expert witnesses. It's funny that you mentioned, I think it was you, Mr. Fishman, mentioned the vision a while ago, or maybe it was Katie, I don't remember. But over here on the right, on the wood panel there is Proverbs 29:18, and it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And with the right vision, which we had for Apollo, I think we can do that again. And so I think it's very important that we have a vision when we think about returning to the moon in the future, and hopefully not too far distant future. Really some interesting things. I want to tell each and every one of you, thank you so very much. You know, 50% of Americans did not think it was worth the money to go back to the moon back 50 years ago. And then we've heard all morning about just list after list, I think 6,000 innovations, inventions that we've derived from our space program that we use every single day. And so I think it's very, very important that we have a future endeavor like 2024. But I proudly represent the Johnson Space Center in Houston and serve as the ranking member of the Space and Aeronautics Subcommittee. And Johnson was home to NASA's Mission Control Center, as all of you know, and played pivotal roles in the Apollo program. And from the first landing on the moon by Apollo 11 to the expert troubleshooting of Apollo 13, JSC mission controllers were center stage for history. Can each of you take just a few seconds and discuss the unique capabilities and accomplishments of NASA's mission control and the importance of developing a skilled cadre of flight control professionals? We'll start over here, Dr. Miller. You go ahead and go first. You're quick on the draw.
Jumping at the mic, sorry. I'm going to fast forward to mission control today. I want to point out something that I think a lot of people may not see in terms of mission control and operation of the International Space Station. We've got it's an international space station. We've got allies. We've got colleagues. It's really a keeping that multinational consortium together, and a lot of that is done with mission control and the handoffs with Roscosmos and with JAXA and ESA. That is politically amazing to me.
Right.
And I think when we develop this vision, this idea of helping to lead our allies and our other spacefaring nations on this mission, I think could really pay a lot of benefits to us. Like maybe not a lot of people know that the MOM mission, which was the Indian mission to Mars, they're one of 4 countries, I think, that have successfully orbited Mars. And you know, that kind of leadership that the U.S. has played, I think, is a very important part. That's beyond the technology, but I think should be absolutely part of the vision.
All right, thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm going to skip to the second question. JSC is also home to the Lunar Sample Lab facility. Can you explain why this facility was so important for the Apollo missions and how it will be used for our return to the moon? One of you there. Dr. Jacob.
As I alluded to earlier, Lunar Science is also, was a critical component of that, and we still have many lunar science missions going on, Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and others, as well as international efforts to do that. Again, exploration is as much about looking forward as it is about looking back and understanding origins of the solar system and where our species came from and all of those large questions. We look at the Space Telescope and the near-term coming launch of the James Webb Space Telescope, and those are time machines. You look out into space, right, and you see history. So I think it's important to understand that in terms of lunar science, not only the samples that we have from that time period, which are still vital resources for planetary scientists and research, continue to be of value. So while we talk about inspiration and exploration and human spaceflight and those components which are critically important to stimulating all the things we've talked about, the scientific mission is still paramount.
Thank you. I want to get in one more question here before the end. We think of Apollo as a success, but up until Apollo 11, we trailed the Soviet Union in almost every accomplishment in space. Competition fueled our national ambition, as Mr. Fishman had said a while ago. What, if anything, drives our current space program? Are there any similarities between the Soviet Union of the 60s and the China of today? One of y'all like to answer that?
I think the rivalry then was much more vivid and acute. One of the things that's really true is that the Chinese people and the Chinese government is very good at laying out an 18-year plan and then actually doing year 1, year 7, year 11, and year 17. In America, we lay out an 18-year plan, do nothing for 15 years, and in year 16, we say, whoa, we better get started. So the rivalry is different. I think one useful thing is to pause and imagine what would have happened if the Soviet hammer and sickle had been the first flag on the moon, and how that would have made not only us feel, but the whole world. That was a banner of authoritarianism and oppression. And so I think it's one way to think about rivalry in space is to imagine what would happen if great achievements are done by nations that the United States considers its rivals, when we could have done them, but simply elected not to.
Well stated. Thank you. I'll yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McNerney. Oops.